Greetings everyone from Michigan, Zone 6A. In today's video, I will talk about pruning, tree pruning, in this case fig tree. Pruning is, in my experience, just coming in touch with people like family and friends, and also from watching online. It is probably the hardest part of tree growing for most people, I would say. Whether it's a ornamental or a fruit tree, people in most cases do not know how to properly prune a tree. It is, with reason, something that is taught in colleges. It is both science and art to properly prune a tree, and every species can be different. The basics are the same, but every species requires different approaches to pruning. Figs, I find, they are quite unique compared to the fruit trees that are grown in the previous years, like apples, pears, peaches, in that they are producing fruits mostly on the previous year growth. They're more like grapevines in that aspect. And most of my knowledge on pruning comes over the years from books, reading, and online, and in the practical field. I did also have a touch with bonsai keeping for many years back, and I find that the bonsai art, it is keeping trees in this container, very much represents what are we doing right now, keeping these trees in these containers. To me, they are a form of a bonsai keeping. And many of the techniques that I have learned from bonsai practicing. So I just uprooted a tree, and I will show you an example how I will prune this tree now. And as much as time as I have, I will show you some other trees. The more you watch this and then use it in practice, will be faster for you to learn how to prune. But let me just stop talking and show you my tools first, what I will use for pruning. Of course, you need a good pruners. I disinfect all of my tools between each cut, possibly saw, small saw, sealing paste, and then depending on the styling, if you need to spread the branches, the spreaders, wire cutter, and possibly even wire if I have to direct. In my growing techniques, I use a lot of, like I said, bonsai techniques and tools. So let me just go back to this tree. This is yellow bypass that I've just uppotted, and you noticed that I have in those videos, if you watch that video, 2 suckers on the bottom. I do not necessarily need these suckers right now, so they will just drain energy from this tree. So this one here, I will prune, and it's very possible that this tree will resprout again this sucker. This one I could possibly air layer, but I will see. This I do not need to save for cutting, so I'm going to just throw it away. And again, now I'm going to just place this cutter there. Oh, actually, I'm going to do the top now. Okay, let me just position my tree right here. Now, this is probably one of the trees that is perfect for my style of growing. And let me find this piece of paper that I have drawn. Oh, it's becoming windy here. So, my trees have to be compact. I'm doing mostly experimental growing of fig trees. So they have to be more compact. As you can see, I do not allow my trees to grow too big. This is a view from the top. If you look my trees from the top, this is what I want. I do not necessarily have all this form right now, but this is what I'm aiming for. I'm looking at the 3 branches, evenly spread. This is like a 12, 8, and 4 o'clock branches. And then they will branch again, secondary branches from those primary branches. So this is what I'm looking for. And maybe looking at the tree, you can see that the first branch is maybe at about 20 inches, something like that. Then the second branch will be ideally maybe a few inches higher, and then the third one will be even the highest. Now, depending on the size, this will also work for or across kind of branching. So looking for the top, you like these branches to be evenly spread within each other. And again, you're going to see here, first, second, third, and fourth, they evenly spread all around as you go towards the top. This is to allow the sunlight to penetrate as much as possible around these leaves and onto the fruits, and they do not shade each other. So that's the first thing that you should know. Now this YOLO bypass has 3 branches, and it's a perfect height. It's about 20, maybe 5 inches at the last branch. This is first, second, and third. If we look at this tree from the top, I'm going to try to demonstrate this. I hope you can see this, but these branches are kind of evenly spread amongst each other. I also mentioned that I'm growing experimentally my fig trees, and that also means they cannot be spread too much in width so they will touch each other. For that reason, I have to make it more compact. Now, let's take a look at the growth. Some varieties will produce fruits on a previous year growth, and that fruit is called breva. Some say breva. I am not necessarily looking for that first fruit in a year. I am mostly interested in a main crop. Usually those fruits will be more tastier, larger, and this is what I'm aiming for. Now let's take a look up close. I'll give you a tip again here. If you are looking for the branch, let me show you maybe on this tree right there. For the breva crop, you can see that there are already figlets here. They might stay or not. They might develop into breva, maybe not. But in that case, one really good tip is to mark the tips right there of every branch that you think that you're going to leave. So this one here, maybe one in the back, this one here. What this allows you is to know exactly when and how much the new growth you have in a year. Many times, even the cuts that we did previously in previous years, they would not be recognized by the next season end. Even here, this is another example. This is 2 years ago growth, and then this is this year growth. Since we have an apical bud, if we leave this apical bud to grow even further, it will be very hard possibly to recognize what's the new growth. For that reason, if you want to know how much your tree grows, you can just mark it like this, even on the back, like that. So that's the first tip. Now, let me go back to YOLO bypass. Since I want my trees to be more compact, maybe even here, I'm looking at these branches. Let's say this is the first branch, and I have one branch here at the bottom, which I really do not need. I'm mostly interested here, but since it's small and it doesn't shade anything on this side, I'm going to leave it for now. Here I have a branch that grows right there, So let me show you here. So this is a 1 year's growth, and this is a secondary branches, and now we have tertiary. This is a new growth, and you can distinguish this lighter growth from this previous year growth right there. I'm looking for the new growth now only for 1 or 2 buds. This is the bud that I'm interested most. It's placed outward, so it's going to grow on this side right there. This one will grow straight up. I'm not really interested in this. There is another bud right there on the bottom that I'm interested in. I want to preserve this bud. But I will prune this branch right there. So this will be the first cut. I will go maybe about a 1/4 of an inch or something like that. You can cut a little bit on the angle. I usually seal all of my cuts. Now this is a very, very tiny branch. You can root this. I do not need this to root it, so I'm not going to save. In a case that you have a branch that you would like to root or even sell, I would recommend that you use a marker and mark even before you cut, just to put a marking, let's say YB, YOLO bypass, before you cut it. That way you would not mistakenly place it amongst other possibly cultivars and cause more confusion. Let me finish this branch now here. Actually, I'm gonna just let my tripod now you can see it from the top. Yes, much better. Okay, now this is a second branch here. They evenly spread between each other. Perfect. I have one node right there. I can feel this bud, and one here, which is perfectly placed facing outward. On this side, I have a small bud, some small branch right there, and one that grows here. I'm looking for just, let's see, I'm gonna do maybe possibly this branch. You have to decide between this one and that one there. Possibly this one, because I don't want to touch this one. Here I already said I'm gonna keep this small branch right there. Now let's go to the next branch. Okay, again I have this year growth right here. This is the branch that will produce new branches next year, and those will be fruiting branches. So I have a bud right there which will grow into this branch, so I'm not really interested in that. But this one, yes, this is a main bud that I want to preserve, this one and even this one here. I will cut just about that. Here we have a small branch, and although it's small, it has one bud there, one here. I could leave this one just to grow a little bit more, possibly decide about pruning at the beginning of the season. And then on this side, again, this is a little bit longer than I want, but I'm gonna stop growth of this branch. Let's see here, right there. I don't want this to elongate anymore, so I'm gonna stop it right there. And here, again, I have a bud right there, you can feel it, and one here. So that branch is also done now, and let me just finish with the third one. Hope you can see it now. Yes. All right, so I have this branch here that's really growing strongly, but it's towards that branch. It will shade this branch. So first I have to decide on this small branch right there. This one has to be cut. I don't need anything to grow upward, even this one here. Now we have this main branch, and I have a bud right there and one bud here. I only need 2 buds. Again, if I was to grow this tree to be larger side, I could make these branches even more elongated. And here I have a small branch right there and one here that's really not as thick, but I will just stop growing this apical bud and I will have it branch from here now. There is also one branch there, this one here, same thing. I can leave this one for now and then do it when prune the tip when the season starts. And now I have to decide about this branch right there, and I do not need it. Okay. Also, let's look at the bottom. There is one branch right there sideways. I do not need this one in the back. And there is even tip here that's about to start growing. And even this sucker here, I do not need it. I already have copies of this plant. Now, let me just position this here, and I'm going to move this plant. Unfortunately, in order to show every possible example, I will have to make a lot of videos. But let's see now this tree from the top. Hopefully I'm aiming correctly, but you can see now that these are all evenly spread. And now I'm even looking at this small branch right there at the base, and I do not need this one here. I will remove even this one here. Now let's take a look again. You can just see that this looks proportionally, it looks beautiful in my opinion. Now let's see how many branches we are expecting. We can also kind of predict how many fruits we're going to have. So this is one branch that I will prune in the beginning of the season. So let's talk about this one. There is one branch here, 2, 3, 4 possibly, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, let's say 11, 13, maybe 15 branches total. Out of those 15 branches, each branch could possibly have, let's say, 5 fruits, or let's say maybe even 2. That's about 30 fruits for this small tree. And that's really good for the first season. One thing that I can give you, one tip also, if you are pruning branch to the base, to the trunk, if you're not sure about the branch that you will need it in the future, do not prune it too close. On some of my trees, I have made mistake because I prune it more like a bonsai, and this is an example right there. And in that case, you can damage the bud that's at the base of the branch right next to the trunk, and it will not shoot a new. Very rarely I find that they will produce a new branch. For that reason, you should kind of make a collar. You don't cut all the way to the flush to the trunk, I should say. Now this tree is pruned. All I have to do now is to use a sealing paste and just a dab, and at the tips you want to seal the cuts, especially next season. You don't want the tree to dehydrate, to lose some moisture. So very quickly, I will redo this again. I'm just showing you fast what to do. Okay, thank you for watching and have a great day.